Do you know the 14 traits of successful chiropractors? We've interviewed some of the top chiropractors in the industry and have identified the common traits that they all share. Jump on over to www.chirobusinessmojo.com to get your free report today.
Welcome to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast, where we deconstruct the methods, marketing, and mindset of successful business people and chiropractors from around the world. And now your host, Dr. Richard Day.
Hello, I am Dr. Richard Day, and this is the Chiro Business Mojo podcast. I simply love doing this show. I love everything about it. I love the people I talk to, and I love the people who reach out to me and tell me that they're getting something out of this show. So let me know if there's anything I can do for you, anything you want me to ask, any guest you want me to bring on the show, because I really love the interaction, and I hope I am delivering value to you. You know what? Let's change that. I hope I'm giving you the mojo you need.
Mojo.
Well, our guest today is definitely infected with the mojo. Dr. Kevin Wong graduated from Palmer West in 1996 as valedictorian of his class and recipient of a Clinical Excellence Award. In 2004, the Contra Costa Sun Newspaper voted Dr. Kevin the best chiropractor in Lamorinda. In 2008 and again in 2009, KRON 4 television nominated Dr. Kevin for the Best of the Bay in the chiropractic category. He's taught for over 18 years across the United States and internationally as well. He will teach over 100 hours of continuing education classes to other chiropractors in places like Daytona Beach, Florida, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Arizona, Anchorage, Alaska, Edmonton, Canada, and others. Please welcome Dr. Kevin Wong.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing today, Doc?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking, and thanks for having me.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show today. I am looking forward to this interview quite a bit. And feel free to jump in there and fill in any of the gaps I may have glossed right over in that bio.
No, I think the big thing about it for people to understand is this is almost the end of my 20th year of practice. So it's been a very interesting experience to learn how to go from being a chiropractic student and really just being a full-time student and a professional student to actually having to clothe and feed yourself and make money in your business to try to really be successful in that event. So it's taken a lot of time, but I think I've got some interesting things to share.
Well, great. I'm looking forward to it, and it's just that type of thing I'm hoping to dig down into today. So why don't you take us back to the early days and tell us why you decided to become a chiropractor?
Really what it all boils down to is the love for people. When you're out in the field there and deciding what you're going to be doing with the rest of your life, when I was in college, I really knew it had to be people-oriented, and I knew that I wanted to take a slant of healthcare that didn't involve cutting people open and giving them drugs and medication. And really, now that I've kind of been through the other side, I really see that what I was meant to do was walk this path and help people using natural methods like our hands and our brain to try to figure out how to get them better without giving them treatments that would cause secondary types of reactions or things like that. It's been really fun to be able to just use my hands for the most part to help people feel better.
Well, think back, if you can, back to that day when you got that diploma in your hand, you graduated, and you were ready to move into the next phase of your career, and that is the business side of things. Can you bring us back and share with us your mindset at that point and maybe some of, what was going on then? Did you have some startup capital? How did you get this thing going? What were your biggest fears?
That's one of the biggest questions I get from chiropractic students when I teach, and that is, what should I do? And I'm going to take you back to 1996 when I graduated, got my diploma. I had my Clinical Excellence Award. I was a 4.0 summa cum laude in my class, and I will tell all of you that I was not very well prepared for practice because back then I was telling you I was a professional student. I really knew how to be a student very well. I did pay attention in some of my technique classes. I was reasonably good with my technique, but really, I had a lot to learn. And when I got out of school, I knew I was in no position to open up my own practice, so I went and worked for somebody. And that would end up to be an associate type position that I had for just about 4 years coming out of school. So that's where I basically worked for another couple doctors and was one of the doctors in their clinic, and I essentially learned as much as I could during that time about what I wanted to do and also what I didn't want to do. That's probably the most important thing that I learned, is what I did not want to do when I had my own office.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a similar experience in practice as well, and you get the good and the bad with somebody that you learn from, but it's all learning.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So you worked there for about 4 years and decided to strike out on your own then?
I worked there, and I decided after a while that when you looked at the numbers, what they were actually paying me, even if I left and only half the patients followed me, I'd still be making just as much as I was before, and I'd be having my own office and making my own decisions and treating people the way I wanted them to be treated. Now, when we're in school and as we come out and we start to learn about who we are as real doctors, this really comes down to your personality as a human being. If you follow your heart the way that you want to practice and treat people, you are going to have your own success. It might take a little bit of time, but I think the biggest thing that I learned from this whole thing was, don't just think with your wallet. If you think with your heart, it sounds corny, but it really is true, and it's made me a living, very comfortable living for these 20 years now that I've been out.
So when you went out on your own, were you immediately successful?
My wife and I started our practice together. She was actually a chiropractor who went to Palmer West, but she graduated 3 years behind me. So when we struck out, we knew that we had some small patient base that may follow us over. And when we did this, we also realized that it was going to take time to build. I would say those first 5 years of solo practice or having your own place, you are really putting your nose to the grindstone and making sure that you're consistently in the office so people know you're there, you're working your office hours. You may choose to work early in the morning or late into the evening. I've always been a morning person, so I didn't mind starting early. And I to this day, I actually work Saturdays. Even 20 years out, I still work Saturdays from 6:30 in the morning to 12 noon because Saturdays are a fantastic day for patients.
Well, it sounds like you had some keys to early success. Is there anything else that you did at that time to really help you move your practice forward?
There's always a little bit of worry involved. You know, me being a worrier myself, I just find things to worry about. But I've noticed that if I can give any advice on these early days is if you have your protocols in place, not just with working with the patients when you're in your office, but to have your marketing in place with your website, with your with the way that you're going to get out there with Facebook or some kind of advertising that you think you're going to use. If you're consistent with it, then it will pay you dividends later down the road. The other way to think about this is the way you treat people, the way that you're going to have the patients come in your office from the very first visit, and how you're going to structure some of those, the time you spend with them, the techniques that you're doing. If you're consistent and you keep working at it, and then you tweak a little bit here and there, you're going to have success with that because you will be doing things the same way with every person, and people will see that you have systems in place, and that when you get your results and you start to get people better, people will really appreciate the fact that you were consistent with each office visit and you gave them the service that they were expecting when they came in.
Well, let's shift forward in time and bring us up to present day. Tell us about the practice that you own and operate today.
Today our clinic is about 2,000 square feet. 2/3 of the clinic is actually ours, and I have 5 treatment rooms. One of the rooms is a massage room. 3 rooms I run patients through, and 1 room has my drop table, my high-low drop table, so I'll walk people in and out of there. So at any given time, I've got 3 rooms that are full, and then I'm walking people in and out of my drop table room to do certain adjustments on different parts of their body, whether it be low back or ribs or shoulders or something. So I treat patients Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. My Thursday and Sundays are off, and pretty much work all days, those days I just described, except for Tuesday. I'm only there until 1 p.m. So we really treat everybody, because I do so much work with extremities and orthotics and feet and shoulders. I get a lot of extremities and sports cases coming in the office, but I treat everybody from newborns to the elderly. Doesn't matter pretty much what kind of case they bring into me. I really love working on everything. We take a lot of insurance, and I know some people have an issue with taking insurance these days, but you have to understand where I'm coming from. I honestly just want to help everybody. So I'll take insurances because some people have it gives them access to care, and it allows them to come see a chiropractor where they may not want to spend the money in the first place. So, you can use any kind of judgment you want about people and spending their money, but people, I have insurance. It's not great as a self-employed person, but I have it, and I would love to use my insurance when I go see a healthcare practitioner. So I understand where these people are coming from. But we have a really healthy mix of insurance and cash, people that will pay prompt pay. I do very little personal injury and very little workers' compensation, just because I've noticed that as time has gone by, it's a little more difficult to work in those arenas for reimbursement and things like that. So this is some of the things we have had to learn over the years that we've been doing business in California.
Well, we have to stop the presses and hold the phones, because I'm going to jump ahead here. I'm just so excited to talk about it. Looking at your reviews on Google, you have 56 reviews on Google and 111 on Yelp. What is going on? How did you get all of these great reviews?
Somebody asked me today, one of my patients asked me what makes me different from some of the chiropractors that are around me. And in our world, there are a lot of people that do what we do. There's a lot of MDs out there. There's a lot of acupuncture, a lot of PTs, and they all have to contend with people that practice within their own profession fairly close by. I knew I needed to make myself different. I knew I needed to show my patients a skill set that not many other chiropractors really possess. So that is why I really made the effort to learn my extremities well, learn how to work with orthotics really well, learn how to do and treat some of the areas of the body that traditionally chiropractors have a lot of trouble dealing with. And that is also something I bring with me when I teach, because I travel the United States and I teach about 100 hours a year through foot levelers, and I teach chiropractors a lot of the stuff that I do in the office, not to say that I'm the best, just to say that I'm different. And I want to share with them what's made a success for me to see if it helps them in their own practice. So those reviews, I'm very proud of them. It took me a while to get over 100 Yelp reviews, and it took me, and it's hard because some people use Yelp, but they don't Yelp actively. Some people look on Google, but they don't have a Gmail account. So if you don't have a Gmail account, you can't write a Google review. So these, I'm very proud of them, and thanks for noticing. But it's just, again, keeping my nose to the grindstone and doing good work for people and showing them you're a member of my family in practice. I care about my relationship with you. Nothing that I do, no product that I sell you, anything that I do in here, I want you to be totally satisfied and happy, because if you're not, then I'm not.
Well, a couple of things I wanted to ask you about Yelp in particular. And these are things I've heard. Maybe they're true, maybe they're not. But the first thing I've heard is that if you are not an active Yelper, that is, that you haven't left, multiple reviews for other businesses, that they actually aren't going to show your review until you've accumulated a certain amount. Is that true?
That is very true. Their philosophy, as I understand it, is they don't want just any person going on Yelp once and reviewing somebody because they think it's a biased review. They think it's something where, for all they know, it could be a family member, or it could be made up, it could be something. I've always been very curious about why they've done that, especially since, you becoming a Yelper starts with a first review. So why just not let that person send that review? And, then it's all good there. Then from there, it might inspire them to do more reviews, right? So you're right. I've heard the same thing.
Now, the other thing I've heard is that if you don't advertise through Yelp, that they're also going to hide reviews. I don't know if that's true, but have you seen anything like that? Do you advertise with them?
I can't. that is a very, very touchy subject as well. I have heard the exact same thing, and I've tried to be very careful with dealing with them, being very respectful to them. They have been after me to advertise for a long time, and I just don't know what to do about it. I don't want to get them upset because I don't want to have any negative things happen to my reviews,
right.
You know? But I'm not sure, to tell you the truth, and I've never advertised with them before, so I wouldn't know. But I have heard also that people that have tried to advertise with them to take off a negative review, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked.
I've got to tell you that no matter how Yelp operates, it sounds like there's some hoops that the end user has to jump through. Having 111 reviews is mighty impressive. Let's move on and talk to you about other forms of marketing that you do. What's working best for you to get your practice out there?
The best thing really that works for me, besides Yelp and Google, is Facebook. I don't advertise on Facebook, but I have a lot of friends on Facebook. So besides my personal page and my practice page, I regularly send out things on those pages. I craft them differently for my personal page because I never want to think on my personal page that I'm trying to advertise for what I do for a living. So I will just kind of throw out things like if I see a case of plantar fasciitis, saw a really tough case of plantar fasciitis today. Have you ever had this? Patient was so frustrated, blah, 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 and I will get some engagement with people that I know. And I have had some patients come in through Yelp. Through Facebook. But again, probably the strongest thing I can tell any of the people that are listening to this is always going to be your referrals of your own patients. What's interesting these days is the landscape has changed from the days when I even got out of school 20 years ago. Before, when you had a referral, they would pretty much hear your name and then call your office up and then talk to your staff and figure out if they wanted to come in. Now when they hear your name as a referral, they may look for you on Yelp, they may look for you on your website. They will check social media for you before they really 100% decide that they want to come in to see you. So really what it is it is those referrals and it's the social media that have really helped me with my practice.
Now, do you manage your own social media, or do you have a social media marketer or someone like that who does that for you?
I have a website company that I've always been trying to be really out on the tip of things with the internet and with my website. So my current website company maintains not only my site, but they will do some posting on my Facebook page, and I'll do extra posting when I see fit. For instance, Foot Levelers had their buy one, get one offer for their orthotics. They actually extended that a few more days, so I went on Facebook today and made sure I put it all over, both my personal and my business page, to make sure people knew about that.
So what do you have, if any, other social platform besides Facebook and a website?
What do I have? Okay, so we talked about Facebook, Yelp, Google. I'm on LinkedIn, but I can tell you for healthcare, LinkedIn really is not much help for us. It's more other types of jobs that people are posting. But I maintain an active LinkedIn page anyway. I'd say a lion's share of people are on Facebook these days. But if you're looking for the younger demographic, then we're looking at Instagram and probably leaving a little bit of Snapchat. But I don't do any of that. So other than that, no, I don't think there's anything else besides maintaining my website that I'm doing for social media other than that.
Well, when you look back over your career and think about everything that goes into being successful, what's the main reason you've been so successful?
I've always been a hard worker. And I know there's an antiquated belief in America that if you work hard, you'll be rewarded. Because I know some people these days are kind of getting cynical about that adage, and they think, well, maybe that's not really the case. If I didn't work hard and continue to, I wouldn't have the practice that I have now. There's an old saying that you make your own luck. I've always believed that is the case. And one of the things I tell people is basically good success in life is a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work. And with me, having that love for people, having that desire to always be the best that I can be, and always making sure that the practice that we do an above board job for everybody that comes through the door, I think that's helped to make it successful.
Now, there are some people out there who are maybe not where they want to be, and they're saying, hey, I work hard too. In your opinion, why isn't everyone successful in practice?
It's interesting because you bring up a topic that I've always wondered all through my years. You and I can pick up a magazine for Dynamic Chiropractic, or we can pick up Chiropractic Economics, and we see a lot of the practice, gurus out there who are saying, come, try my system. I'll guarantee that you have this many new patients and blah, and some of those do work. I'm really good friends with Mark Santa. He's head of Breakthrough Coaching. That all works. But I think what you've got to do is you have to sit down with yourself, either yourself and or your spouse, or whoever your partner in life is, and figure out, all right, is this practice what I want it to be? Am I practicing true to what I feel, how I should be treating these patients? Or am I trying to just make money off certain things? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to criticize that at all. But are you practicing and recommending these types of services and things because the patient needs them, or because you're trying to pay them off? It's a hard thing to walk, hard line to walk. But if you always stay true to that, and patients will see this. They can see when we're trying to sell them something that they may not need. They can see when we are trying to do something that may not be the right course, because it comes out in the way we describe this to them, or we're trying to sell it to them. Healthcare, and especially with chiropractic, it's about education. If we teach our patients what they need, they will ask us for that, and they will accept what we're asking them because they know that we have their best interests at heart. So that's what I would tell you to do. If you're struggling right now, if you're frustrated, I understand because I've been there too, but you ask yourself, are you treating these patients the way that you think you should be? Is this how you treat your own family? And I think that will help you, guide you in what it is that you're trying to accomplish with the practice that you have currently.
Well, this podcast is all about providing actionable content for our listeners, so let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about something, a single piece of advice or a series of action steps you'd recommend for the new doc, and then something they could do tomorrow. And the same thing for the doc that's been in practice a while.
So for the new doc, we have a very interesting healthcare landscape out there. You've heard everybody talking about Obamacare and all this. I think that as a new practitioner, it does behoove you to get on some of the insurance plans so you can start bringing patients through the door, and you have multiple avenues. You never want to have only one avenue of bringing in patients, all right? You want to think of multiple ways to do this. Maybe it's insurance companies. Maybe you're going to go join a Rotary Club or a business leads group. Maybe you're going to work at another type of a practice where patients are coming in because it's pre-established, so you start to get yourself experience. Because the seasoned field doctors never worry about what kind of adjustment we're going to do on that person, because we've been doing it for a long time. In the beginning, you'll be perfecting your cervicals, you'll be perfecting your side postures, your anteriors, all those things. So get your hands on people and work on them, all right? Also, you want to look at the different avenues for bringing ancillary income. And this is really for anybody who's currently practicing or not, or just starting, all right? For instance, for my practice, I sell a lot of orthotics because I do a lot of work with the feet. I sell ancillary products like rock tape, like BioFreeze and those types of things. We have AccuBalls. I also make sure I have a laser that is a fantastic therapy modality that I use on patients, and that costs extra as well. So there's other things that you can have for your practice that will bring in additional streams of revenue. So it's not just you adjusting the patient all the time. And it basically tiring yourself out sometimes trying to bring in some of that money. All right. So also for the new practitioner, I think the big thing is make sure that you do make an effort to pay attention to your continuing education. When you go to these things, pick a seminar that you actually think you can use the techniques in your practice. Don't just go there and sit and waste your 12 or 24 hours. That's a complete waste of your time. Go there and learn something so you can bring it back and keep invigorating your practice with new techniques until you get to a stage where you're very comfortable with what you're practicing and you know enough. And that way you have multiple ways to treat multiple patients. See, I love Activator. I love some of those single techniques, but Activator can't fix everybody. All right? It can fix probably many, many, many people, but when you know diversified, Activator, drop table, SOT, you know, all those things, you can help so many people in so many ways. keep your avenues open for bringing in patients, because if all you are is a hammer, then everything's going to be a nail. You want to have a lot of different hammers. So you wanted me to switch gears to kind of like the current practitioner out there who may want to, also what I would suggest for the current practitioner who's out there, we do get very narrow in scope with the way we practice, because this is a lot of us still practice kind of alone, and we don't have a lot of people around us, or we may not have that contact with additional chiropractors in our area because we're so busy working. So whatever I teach people, whenever I'm doing my 4, 8, or 12-hour program, I'm trying to inspire people to look outside their box and see what else there is that they could bring into their practice that will make them not only excited and happy again, but show the patients that they really care. I don't want to just give you the same treatment I've given you for 10 years. I'm always looking to be better. I'm always looking to make sure I know the latest thing. So, open your eyes out there to some of the things I mentioned between laser or orthotics or whatever. And really, it's really exciting. And it's not some gimmick. Maybe it's nutritional products. Maybe it's weight loss. Whatever you're into. It's okay to be scared to do this stuff, because if you're not scared, then it's probably not the right choice. So, if you have a plan in place and you talk to people who have done it before, it really will work for you, and it can work for you if you believe it.
Well, that's great advice. Take a fresh look at your practice and maybe get outside your comfort zone a little and try a different modality or learn a new skill.
Absolutely.
Well, let's take a step back now, and I want to shift and talk about the big picture of success. And we learn so much from our successes in life, but we oftentimes learn even more from our challenges, our setbacks, or failures, if you will. So, can you share with us a challenge or setback you've had in your life, what it was, and what you learned from it?
One time, 3 years ago, this patient who we knew was very difficult to begin with, but I never try to turn anybody down because I know everybody needs help. This person was actually a psychologist who I did not know, but he was referred in. And treatment was going very well, actually, for a while. We probably had him in about 10 times. And unbeknownst to me, he became really, really dissatisfied with things. And he started to become even more disrespectful to my staff. And, and all the while, I was just like, no, you know what? We're trying to help this guy. I know we can help him. And we were actually helping him so much that he had referred in his partner. And we were able to get his partner well. But lo and behold, when he dropped out of care, we didn't really know what was going on. I made an attempt to kind of get in contact with him. But then I get a letter from the California State Board saying he had filed a complaint against me. And my world just stopped, because I love all my patients. And I was hurt that this person would do this to me, especially knowing how big of a pain he was to my staff. So this really floored me. I can even remember how I felt now, just trying to react to it. I knew I had done nothing wrong, but he made the point of giving me a horrible Yelp review and going to report me to the State Board of California, which I don't even understand to this day why he felt he could be like that. So anyway, the good thing about this was, number one, the Yelp review, I tried to get it removed because he said a lot of things that weren't true. It's actually good that Yelp wouldn't take it away, because number one, it taught me something about Yelp. And number two, it taught me that, when you read his review, it's so crazy that even the people at the time, when I asked my patients to look at it and tell me what they thought, they're like, he's nuts. I didn't give him any context either. They just said, he's crazy. And that's just the way it is. You have to deal with it. So I basically got all my papers together. I sent them into the state board, and finally they ruled a while later, after months of just kind of sweating out, that there was no infraction. Nothing had gone on. They dismissed the matter. So whether he wanted to just really mess with me, but that right there could have, I told myself, I'm going to stop. I think I'm going to stop practicing. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to deal with people like this. How could he do this to me? But now that I've come through it and I fought through it, and I said, no way. I've worked too hard for this person to do this to me. No way. One person, no way. So I fought back. I came out the other side, and I really hope to God I never have to go through that again. But it really rattled me, and I was, 16 years into practice, 17 years. This is not like I was just starting. And I really, really tried to help this person. And it just goes to show you can't stop being who you are. I could have really just retreated into my shell and said, I don't want to do this anymore. People are going to hurt me. It's not fair. But guess what? Life's not fair. Pick yourself up, deal with it. And it made me a little bit stronger coming out of the other side. But I just really hope I never get another letter from those people in my life again,
Yeah. Wow. I can only imagine what you went through. Thanks for sharing such a story that we all hope we never end up in those same shoes. But
yes.
At least it had a happy ending, right?
Right.
Well, when you think of the word successful, is there a person that comes to mind? Who is it and why?
Let me think of some of my role models. Mark Charette is a role model to me because he took me under his wing when I first joined the Foot Leveler Speaking Corps about 11 years ago. He is a very, very nice man who's an amazing teacher. So for him, I consider him a very successful teacher. All right. When I look at success in other arenas, because I have a few little role models here, I also look for someone who's a success with his family and his personal life. And for me, that happens to be Chris Caraway, who's a chiropractor who teaches for Multi-Radiance. He does a lot of laser. He's a super nice guy, super great doctor, does just amazing things for and with his family. I always see his pictures on Facebook of him spending the time that you cannot ever get back again with your family. All right. And finally, for the success of my practice financially, what I've been really impressed at, honestly, is my wife. She has basically run my practice for me since we've had our own practice for going on, almost 17 years now, us running it by ourselves. She is the one who oversees the staff. She looks over the work. She does all the deposits. She does everything financial. So she does all the hard stuff while I get to do all the fun, easy stuff, and that's treating the patients.
Wow. Sounds like an incredible list of folks, of incredible people. And thanks for letting us know. I certainly understand, the importance and appreciation I have for my spouse as well. A real similar role in my life and in our practice.
That's cool. That's good.
Do you have any daily habits, rituals, or affirmations, things you do every day that help you be more successful?
For a while, I would be judging my success based on how many new patients I was having per day or this or that. But, as my practice has gotten busier over the years to the point where we often have a wait list during the day, I know that the universe is bringing people into the office where they are supposed to be on the schedule. If there's a day where I only have one new patient, but my schedule is jam-packed with all my regulars, versus a day where I might have 5 new patients, that's the way it's supposed to be. So really what I've come to say to myself after many years of having all sorts of affirmations is basically the universe has decided the path that you're going to walk on. Just walk the path.
Well, we are now getting to the end of the interview as these waning moments tick down. Let's talk about a few more things before you go. Do you have a favorite book that you would like to recommend to our listeners?
I would have to say that the E-Myth was a very good book for business. It's a really good book for business.
That is a good one. I've read that one a couple of times. And, when you first start out and you're all about being the technician, how he breaks that down, that's all I was thinking about. And as I became the entrepreneur and the manager, you start wearing all of those hats and realizing there's only 24 hours in a day. How can I do all of these well? So that was a very eye-opening book for me as I moved through, those various phases of being an entrepreneur.
And personally, can I just give you one more book? And that's called The Millionaire Next Door. You ever heard of that one?
Great book. It's on my bookshelf.
Oh, yeah. that one, for me personally, a lot of us don't like to be flashy with, even if we make money, we don't like to flash it around. And I just liked all the salient points in that book because I could resonate very well with it. Yeah. So those are my books.
It is, that's a great one as well. Being a millionaire isn't necessarily what commercials and magazines tell us we have to be.
Yes.
It's not what you think. Well, what is the best way for people to contact you and find out more about you and what you do?
Well, let me tell you, my website is orindachiropractic.com. So that's ORINDA chiropractic.com. On there is my email address and ways to get a hold of me through the office. And actually on my website, I tell a lot about what it is that I do in practice, just because when patients are surfing, they are able to, if they want to, do a lot of investigative work about me without me knowing it. So that's always a good way to get a hold of me. I do a lot of teaching for foot levelers, and my seminars are listed on footlevelers.com. You can find them there. But, I'm really happy to help. It's just a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you taking the time to have me on the interview. It's exciting for me to be able to do these types of things. And, I don't often talk about myself. I don't know if that is very evident, but it's nice to have someone asking me questions so I can give you a nice specific response rather than blabbering on.
Well, we will link to your book recommendations as well as the information about you and the ways we can contact you in our show notes page on our website. And Dr. Kevin Wong, thank you so much for coming on the show today and allowing us to pick your brain and open up for us and our listeners. We've learned a whole lot, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your time with us.
It's been an honor, and I thank you so much for working me into your busy schedule. And I hope all of you out there have a fantastic holiday season. And thanks again.
Thanks for listening to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast at www.chirobusinessmojo.com.